You guys really like the Ruby and Sapphire arc, so it's already time for the next part in the complete story of Pokemon Adventures. This time we'll be covering our first game remake adaptation with the FireRed and LeafGreen arc, returning back to Kanto to enjoy our original favourite gang, but also some new characters. This arc's filled to the brim with character development, twists, and sick fights. For this part, we'll be covering chapter 268 to chapter 302. So without further ado, let's get into Pokemon Adventures, FireRed and LeafGreen. Our story begins with a flashback from a few years before the Masked Man terrorized Kanto and Johto. Silver and Green are making their grand escape from captivity, removing their masks and preparing to finish their plan. The plan exploits the fact that the Masked Man feels weak on a specific day, allowing them to successfully sneak into his room. This supposed weakness though was never actually a weakness. Instead, it was the Masked Man going to the Ilex forest to try capture Celebi, but every time he would get beaten and have to retreat. Green and Silver steal the Rainbow and Silverwing from his room and finally make their way to their freedom. Later on, Pryce returns home, feeling loneliness that his quote-unquote family has lost some members. Time skip to present day, 6 months after the Ruby and Sapphire chapter. Green speaks with Silver over phone call and we learn Green's finally found her parents and will be reuniting with them today. She apologizes to her brother-like friend since he's yet to find any connections to his own past, but he tells her not to worry, instead focus on the new clothes he got her, which she greatly appreciates. But little did they know, now would be the start of a new battle for the original Dex holders. Silver looks at his handkerchief one last time before taking his own leave from the Johto region. Over in Pallet Town, some kids are trying to catch a Pokemon, just like in the very first chapter, but they can't do it. A boy then tells them to use the Gengar they have to fight the Pokemon, so they can catch it. A friend of the boy then tells him to hurry up, and one of the children recognizes the boy and his friend, being the now 16-year-old Red and Blue. The two reminisce on how Pallet Town hasn't changed a bit since they've been traveling. Recently, Oak went to the Hoenn region to check up on it, but now he's come back and has invited both Red and Blue to his lab. When they arrive, Oak is nowhere to be seen though. Instead, there's a device and letters addressed to Red, Blue and Green. Inside the letter, they find boat tickets that can be used at Vermilion City. But before they can look any further, they hear a crash outside, rushing to check on their Pokemon who are being attacked by an unknown assailant. They command attacks from their Pokemon, but the attacker manages to get away. Red then begins to gear up, knowing they need to find Oak rather than wasting time on whatever attacked them. Blue agrees, but first he explains what the device they received was, being a fame checker. Blue says that it works like a sound recorder, and Oak probably left them a recording, and sure enough, he's right. Oak tells both Red and Blue from here on out, he's going to be taking away their Pokedexes, telling the two of them to put their dexes on the desk where they'll connect to a storage system. Red listens to the recording over and over again, but it's 100% Professor Oak. Blue, however, doesn't hesitate, placing his Pokedex on the desk, wanting Red to do the same, and after a bit of thinking, he does the same. A flash occurs and the Pokedexes completely disappear. Blue tries to reassure Red, but he already knows what his rival's gonna say, saying if Oak wants the Pokedexes, then he'll get them. They then both prepare to head for Vermilion City, but before they do, Red grabs Green's letter as well. Over at said city, we see a sailor from all the way back in the Johto region. This guy's called Eldritch, by the way. He asks Green why she's here so early, with Green explaining she's excited to meet her parents, so he lets her board the ship early, recognizing her as one of the Pokedex holders chosen by Professor Oak, and also the third place winner at the Pokemon League. Green sends out her Pokemon in order for them to explore, but Ditto notices that something's wrong, as Green's Pokemon all get attacked. Red and Blue then arrive at the harbour, getting hurried onto the ship as it's now about to leave. Eldritch also recognizes Red and Blue as Dex holders too, and if you couldn't tell, being a Dex holder chosen by Oak is pretty much being a celebrity. The Sea Gallop ship then prepares to depart, its destination being one island, the first of many of the Kanto Sevi Islands. As for Green, she's being pushed back by her opponent, and unfortunately she doesn't have a Pokedex with her, so instead she uses her newly upgraded Self Scope, identifying the Pokemon which turns out to be a Deoxys. Before she can process any of this information, she gets grabbed by an invisible force. A hole of darkness then appears on the floor, dragging her Self Scope into it and breaking it. Red and Blue sit down, thinking why Oak would have wanted them to come to the Sevi Islands. Pika then rolls out of his Pokeball in order to greet someone, This special someone being everyone's favorite side character, Bill. He reunites with his old buddies and Blue asks if his sister's with him, which isn't the case as she decided to stay behind. Bill tells them that he's headed for one island for work, helping his friend Celio. He explains that himself, Celio, Lynette, and Bridget all work together to create the transport system of Kanto, and now they've been spread all over the world, with Celio specifically being in charge of the Sevi Islands transporter. The ship docks at the island, but Green can't go anywhere since Deoxys has her in its grasp. She tries to get someone's attention, but she spots her parents instead. Her parents also spot her and make their way over there, but the dark hole makes its way to her parents. Luckily, Red spots what's going on, heading down to help immediately, but it's too late as Green's parents get swallowed into the dark abyss. She gets released from Deoxys' grasp, leaving her to suffer about her missing parents. Green tries to get back on her feet, but faints, causing her to fall off the ship. Fortunately though, Polly saves her. Blue has Scissor scan the area for the enemy, trying to catch you within its claws, but the Pokemon manages to flee. The gang prepare to take Green to a hospital, and Bill picks up Green's diary. Whilst they do this though, a mysterious silhouette watches over them. Since they're all new to the island, they instead go to the Pokemon Net Center, where Celio has a bed ready and a healing station for Green's Pokemon. Celio then gives them some room, and the guys discuss what happened. Bill explains that Green came here to meet her parents, who they saw disappear. And according to her diary, Green was at Pallet Town yesterday, where she returned her Pokedex to Oak. And now today, she got attacked by a mysterious Pokemon, which just so happens to be what happened with Red and Blue. Blue then showcases Green's spoken Silph Scope, which recorded the fight, allowing them to see the mysterious Pokemon that attacked Green. Red tells the others they may not know what Pokemon this is or why it attacked them, but him and Blue are gonna have to fight and defeat it, no matter what. I've really missed these two so much. Bill tells the two of them they stand no chance against the Pokemon, but Blue says they'll just train and improve. But as Blue mentions, there hasn't been anyone stronger than them in the last 5 years, so even if they train now, how can they get any stronger than they already are? Not to mention, they're running on time. However, they have no choice, since they know how much this meeting meant to Green, so they'll have to find a way to break their limits and reach a new height. Someone then chimes in on their conversation, saying if they want to become stronger, they should follow her premonition in mastering the ultimate moves. But these guys don't find the old lady's humor to be funny, taking their leave. She, however, isn't joking, flinging 2 bands at Red and Blue, who counter with their Pokemon. But despite this, the bands still attach themselves to their wrists. Not wanting to be constrained, Blue goes straight for throwing hand, but his punch gets blocked. The old lady sends out her Pokemon to showcase her seriousness, unleashing the ultimate moves at both Red and Blue, leaving them to stand at awe at its destructive power. Eldritch comes out the ship, shouting at the lady named Ultima for damaging it. Bill recognizes the name from when he was young. There was once the story of an old lady who guards the special Pokemon moves, with Ultima confirming this to be the case. Blue can't deny the power of these moves, but would rather not have to wear shackles, demanding she undo them. But she ignores him. Blue drags Red off, saying that they're leaving, but no matter how hard they try to get away, they can't stay more than 20 feet away from her. Blue's about to lose it, but Red can tell this lady might be the real deal. Because they need to get stronger and she has a way to help them, he asks her to teach them the ultimate moves, which she of course accepts. And so the group head off to 2 Island. Blue asks Red why he agreed to get the training from Ultima, but Red explains that she's clearly stronger than them, but she's willing to teach them the moves, so it's a perfect chance. Blue can't deny any of this, but it doesn't mean they should trust her. She may seem innocent, but she could be the mastermind behind Deoxys. After all, it's what happened with Price. And if this is the case, now they're trapped by her side. For now though, there's nothing they can do as they've arrived at 2 Island. Tagging along the ride though is Green's Ditto, who attached itself to Red's bag. After a lengthy trek, they finally reach Ultima's house. Or that's what I wish I could say, but they've only reached the entrance, as now they have to have a 2-mile journey across a really long corridor. Inside, Ultima tells the two they're gonna have to boost their stamina in order to learn the ultimate move, giving Venusaur's Vine to Charizard. She tells them all they're gonna have to cross the corridor whilst it tilts backwards, and whilst jumping the vine like it's a skipping rope. And so they begin, with Ultima telling them that every half mile the type of training will have to change. 22 years ago, a trainer spent 8 hours trying to reach the end, but gave up 3/4 of the way through, hoping Red and Blue can beat his record. The two trainers are struggling to keep a rhythm, so Blue asks Charizard to speed it up, but Red asks Venusaur to slow down, which obviously isn't gonna work, so Red decides to match Blue's pace, and eventually they reach the checkpoint. The next test is to ride Dodrios through a moving corridor that speeds up, and not to forget, they have to catch berries that are falling from the ceiling. And so they do just that, but Red nearly drops one. Luckily though, Blue comes to the rescue. After that, they reach another checkpoint, this time being the path of battling. But Red's really starting to feel the burn. Ultima tells the two that now they'll fight each other, and only the winner will learn the special move. The rules are simple, they can use 6 Pokemon and it's a double battle. They're also free to switch whenever they want. The floor begins to move and Ultima explains that if you attack, your floor will move faster, but if you take damage, it will slow down. The winner of the challenge being the person who reaches the end first. So the battle begins with Gyarados and Snorlax versus Golduck and Porygon 2. The two never thought they'd end up battling against each other, but Blue tells Red they don't actually have to take it seriously, since realistically, only one of them needs to learn the special move. However, Red asks his rival if this is really what he wants, and the answer is of course no, as both trainers agree to going all out. So hopefully we can have a better battle than the league final. Red gets off an Intimidate with Gyarados, but the tri-attack he gets hit by is enough to force his Corridor back. So this time he goes for a range attack, attacking with Hyper Beam. So Blue hides with Dig, which just so happens to work perfectly for Red, as Snore uses Earthquake, dealing double damage to Golduck. Best of all, since Gyarados is a flying type, he doesn't feel the attack, whilst Porygon 2 gets caught. Golduck goes down, but Gyarados got paralyzed from the earlier attack. Blue decides to go for a double switch, sending in Sizzle and Machamp. With their combined efforts, they catch Snore with a Seismic Toss, and finish it off with a low kick. Sizzle also lands a Steel Wing on Gyarados, so Red goes for a double swap himself, sending in Aero and Pika. Aero catches Sizzle with a Dragon Claw, so Blue decides to switch, whilst Pikachu goes for Machamp. However, its Thunderbolt is redirected to Rhydon and its Lightning Rod ability. Both trainers are down one Pokemon and both have a Pokemon weakened, but at the end of the day, the winner is the trainer who reaches the end first. With the goal being in sight, there's only time for one more attack. Taking a page out of Ash's book, Red has Pikachu go for Iron Tail, landing a heavy blow on Machamp. But both trainers reach the end. From the looks of it, they've tied, but only Ultima knows, so they look for her, only to find her being strangled by Deoxys. It begins its attack on Red and Blue, who are unfortunately dead tired. The bracelets on their arm then begin to glow as engravings are revealed. Ultima tells them the name of the moves, Frenzy Plant and Blast Burn, and with a command to Charizard and Venusaur, they unleash the ultimate moves. Whilst this is going on, over on Free Island, a gang of bikers are causing trouble, but suddenly Deoxys appears attacking all of them. On one island, Blue is trying to focus on fixing the Pokemon Transporter, whilst also looking after Green. Before they left, Bill asked Red why Professor Oak had a letter and ticket for Green when they already met the day prior, with the chances being that Green's Fame Checker has a different recording to theirs, but Red says since it's hers, she has to be the one to open it. Back with the bikers, they beg for help, and it kind of arrives, in the form of Nidoking and Nidoqueen, who swat the bikers away. These aren't wild Pokemon though, as instead they're owned by a trainer, who says if you're going to be evil, you have to go all the way, claiming the mysterious force in front of them to be a Pokemon. And this Pokemon's come down from space, with its name being Deoxys, and this mysterious trainer being of course, Giovanni. Back with Red and Blue, their ultimate attacks are launched, but the Pokemon dodges. Red wants to try again, but the backlash from the attack makes their Pokemon unable to move. Blue tells Red that they shouldn't have used the moves without learning its properties first. In other words, they messed up big time. But Ultima tells them that she's impressed as they succeeded in using the moves by themselves. Red and Blue are of course shocked by this, since Ultima's fine with Deoxys, but she reveals the Pokemon was Green's Ditto all this time, who she managed to befriend. She also reveals that since they finished at the same time, they both get to learn the move, releasing the shackles from their arms. She continues on, saying that she doesn't know what foe they're fighting, but she wishes them luck, which Red and Blue gratefully appreciate. So with the ultimate moves in their hand, now they have to just practice and master them. Blue asks Ditto to transform again though, as he's noticed something about the enemy's shape, being similar but still different from what attacked them. They determine that the Pokemon can change form depending on the situation. This information's key, as it could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Bill then calls the duo, saying he's brought them passes to 4 Island, as Deoxys was spotted at 3 Island. So they do just that, heading to the Icefall Cave where Bill's waiting for them. When they arrive, they find a strange device that shines a light. The light hits an Executor, causing it to get aggressive. Blue wants to take the chance to practice, but Bill steps in, revealing he wanted to test out his new device, the Versus Seeker, which challenges trainers to a fair and square fight. Back onto the main topic though, Bill has some crucial news. A local girl named Lostel told him about a bunch of bikers that appeared on Free Island. These bikers caused havoc, but then Deoxys appeared to help her. Well, or maybe just to cause a fight. Red and Blue are shocked at this information, but Bill continues, saying the girl also saw a man at the scene, so she drew him and sent Bill the drawing. And immediately upon seeing the drawing, Red recognizes him as Giovanni. They theorize whether Team Rocket owns Deoxys or they're just trying to capture it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference, as if Team Rocket's involved, they have no choice but to stop them. Bill also says that Team Rocket have been rumored to be at Icefall Cave, hence why he called them here. So now with a target in mind, Red activates the Versus Seeker and the group head into the cave. A bunch of Team Rocket's Pokemon block their path, but before they can fight back, the Pokemon all get frozen. A voice then asks Red and the gang to join in on their fight, as after all, the Sevi Islands is their hometown. This voice belonging to Lorelei, member of the now disbanded Elite Four. Red asks what she's doing here, as she went missing after the battle in Cerise Island. Lorelei explains that Fort Island is her hometown, and it's been untouched this whole time, so she wants to keep it that way. Red and Blue aren't so naive though to easily team up with Lorelei after what she's done, but when Team Rocket appear, it seems they have no choice. The Team Rocket member captures the group with his robots, and swats away the earlier Pokemon, claiming them to be useless, unlike his Forretress. Red and Blue try to go for Blast Burn and Frenzy Plant, but the Team Rocket member forces them to miss their attack. Over his radio system, we learn his name is Car, and he's being ordered to get his job done quickly, as his companions have arrived, Surd and Orm, the three of them creating the three beasts of Team Rocket, and Giovanni's most loyal admins. Upon hearing the name of Giovanni, Red demands to know what they're planning, and why they attacked Green and her parents, but of course they refuse, so Red frees himself and charges. This costs him though, as the Forretress uses Explosion. The smoke clears, and fortunately thanks to Lorelei, they escaped with their lives. Team Rocket though have a surefire plan to force them out of their hiding place. This hiding place being Lorelei's plush-filled bedroom. They want to discuss their next move, but Team Rocket broadcasts to every single Sevi Island station, claiming they'll destroy all the islands if Red, Blue and Green don't hand themselves in. Once the broadcast ends, the island begins to shake as the Icefall Cave gets ripped open, with Car going to 5 Island, Orm going to 6 Island, and Surd going to 7. Bill wonders why they want to capture the Dex holders, but Blue has no idea, saying if they want to fight, then he'll bring the fight. Red also wants to go, despite his injuries from the explosion. Since there's 3 admins and 2 Dex holders, Lorelei asks once more to join in on their fight, which they greatly appreciate. Using the help of a Sea Gallop, everyone makes their way to their respective islands, and once close, Red takes off with Arrow to 5 Island. On said island, Car is already destroying the place, sending his Forretress into the Pokemon Center to explode, but nothing happens, all thanks to Red making his grand appearance. Car sends his Steelix to literally eat Red, but thanks to Poliwrath's stamp ability to stop explosions and his pure strength, dealing with Car's team is easy work. Since eating didn't work, Car has his Steelix try stab Red instead, but Poliwrath stops this attack as well. I don't know if it was intentional, but it also acts as a nice callback to the Fearow fight, really showing how much Red and his team have grown. Red finishes off by having Pikachu hold Car at tail point. Over on 6 Island, Orm has taken down all the people until Blue shows up. But against Shuckle's shells, Blue's attacks are ineffective, giving Orm the chance to call a ton more of Shuckles to poison Blue's Pokemon and constrain them. Orm cares all about family, and in fact they have a member of Blue's family with them, showcasing Professor Oak, who's been captured yet again, this time way worse than before. Back with Red, he wants to know what's the deal with Deoxys, but Car doesn't know. All he does know is that Deoxys is attracted to the Dex holders of Pallet Town. Over on 1 Island, Celio has fixed the Pokemon Transporter, but right now, all the townspeople want him to bring out the Dex holders, as their peaceful islands are under attack thanks to them. Fortunately though, Green's up and away, and realizes she isn't particularly wanted here, making her leave. Heading over to Red again, he wants to keep asking questions, but since there's victims that are injured, he leaves Car with Saw. Red tries to help out the injured people, but they don't want anything to do with him, knowing their island's in danger thanks to him and his friends. Bill arrives on the scene, asking Red what's wrong, when Red gets hit by a stone. The island's people all demand Red leave their island, so Bill tries to defend Red, saying he's come here to save them and he's one of Professor Oak's trusted Dex holders. The townspeople want proof of this, but Red doesn't have his Pokedex with him right now, causing the people to get even more angry with him. Bill's about to crash out, but Red tells him not to worry, since he's going to be leaving. Suddenly though, Red feels something weird, as a chilling wind rushes over everyone. Red quickly realizes this is what Car was talking about, a Pokemon drawn to the Kanto Dex holders, feeling in his chest that the DNA Pokemon is upon them, and right on cue, Deoxys appears. Red notices that the Pokemon's changed shape and sends Pikachu to attack, but Deoxys changes form again, this time into defense form, easily blocking Pikachu's attack. Red realizes this is just what Blue was talking about, but he won't back down, having Pikachu and Arrow work together to attack. but Deoxys changes form again and straight up punches them. And if it wasn't enough already, it changes form once more time and stabs Arrow's wings. Red sends out Snore, hoping it can deal some heavy damage, but its attack is completely defended. Red tries to think of a way to stop a Pokemon that can change form, but without his trusty Pokedex, he's gonna have to think it alone, sending Gyarados in. He tells Pikachu everything he knows about the Pokemon, just like back in the Mount Silver chapter. If you don't know about this arc, to pretty much summarize, everything that happens in it is a teaser for this. Carl confirms all of Red's suspicions, revealing ownership of a Pokedex-like device. With Saw busy, Carl runs away, and Bill chases after him, realizing these are the guys who kidnapped Professor Oak. Over with Blue, his backup has arrived, as Machamp and Scizor attack the Shuckle in order to free their trainer. But a direct attack isn't gonna work. Luckily, Rhydon breaks out from under the ground, freeing everyone and taking down Orm. But now, Blue has to find out where Professor Oak is. Over on the Sea Gallop, Eldritch gets a call from Ultima, who needs a taxi to one island. Before they left, Red asked about the ultimate Water-type move, as Green would be the perfect candidate to inherit it. And so, Ultima needs to find Green and teach her this move. Back with Red's battle, Pikachu calls down Thunder, hitting Deoxys directly in its crystal core, stopping the Pokemon from changing forms. Deoxys, however, heals itself with Recover. Pikachu tries Thunder again, but thanks to Deoxys' ability Pressure, it can't. Deoxys then calls out its signature move, Psycho Boost, attacking Red with all its might, eviscerating him as if he's getting hit by a Kamehameha. Luckily though, Red's Pokemon aren't gonna let their trainer die, sliding in and taking the attack for him. On 7 Island, Lorelei is fighting Surd, fending her off. But Surd reveals she's unlocked the Tenobi Key, which opens the ancient ruins of the Sevi Island. I'm not gonna read these names out loud, but what this means is a bunch of unknown are here to cause trouble. Lorelei tries to take them all down, but she gets caught lacking by Starmie, ending the battle with Surd's victory. She contacts her boss, who thanks his admins for buying time, revealing their code name for Deoxys as Organism Number 2. And by using the Ruby and Sapphire stones, they can transform Deoxys into any form they want. Before they leave though, Lorelei has her Jinx cast some ice around Surd's leg. Over on one island, Green is trying to escape, but she gets found. She runs to the pier and the Sea Gallop arrives just in time to save her. The townspeople aren't letting things go that easily though, grabbing onto Green's arm. Luckily, the Chad Celio appears, allowing Green to escape whilst also giving her Pokemon. As for Blue, he flies over the sea, after failing to find any clues about his grandfather. He and Charizard spot the Sea Gallop, so they prepare to land, but as they do, they get quite literally speed blitzed by Deoxys. The gang then all arrive at 5 Island, where they meet Red and Bill. They ask him if he fought Deoxys, which he confirms, but he wasn't good enough and ended up taking a big fat L. Later on, the gang sit by a fire, discussing their situation. From what they know, Deoxys can transform into 4 different forms. After Red got hit by Psycho Blast, Surd appeared, giving Deoxys the Ruby and Sapphire, allowing it to reach its full power. Eldritch comments on the result of each battle, with Lorelei and Red both losing and only Blue being a victor. Blue tells the others not to feel pessimistic and instead treat fighting Deoxys as if fighting 3 Pokemon at the same time. And now Team Rocket have probably gone to their base, so what they have to do now is wait for the morning so they can find Lorelei and prepare for a rematch. Asking Red if he's ready, but his rival doesn't reply. Eventually Red speaks, telling Blue that he's taking things too lightly when it comes to being pessimistic, pushing his friend and telling him that he hasn't fought Deoxys, so he doesn't know what it's like. Blue grabs Red, but Red continues, saying he has no idea how powerful Deoxys is. Blue says he may not know, but if they all fight together, they can win. But Red disagrees, saying even if they all work together, they still can't beat it. Blue's surprised at Red's cowardice, but Red doesn't care. In fact, he probably is a coward and it's why Oak took the Pokedexes from them. Ever since they started this journey, Red couldn't help but think why Oak would take them away. But when he got into his fights, he realized he's been relying on it too much. Even the townspeople started treating them differently once they lost them, which neither Blue or Green can deny. Red feels like he's lost his identity with his Pokedex, and that's why Oak knew he wasn't worthy anymore, running away into the night. Bill wants to chase after him, but Blue says it's pointless, since the way he is now, he'll only get in their way. Green though still chooses to chase after him. Over on 5 Island, Surd and Carl make their way over to their base. They begin tracking Deoxys, who's returned to Birth Island, entering its weird black pyramid. Due to the injuries from its battle with Red, it's probably going to be staying there for a while. Giovanni tells the two to keep their eye on Deoxys, and Carl finds a photograph left by his boss, showcasing a younger Giovanni and a redhead boy, as Giovanni voices his excitement of getting closer to meeting his son. making Car realize that Giovanni wants to use Deoxys' power to find his missing son, as his boss prepares his team to hunt down Deoxys. On the beach of Five Island, Red trips over, apologizing deeply to his team who are all badly injured after the fight. He knows Pikachu tried his best, but as his trainer, he failed to deliver, beginning to cry and hug his partner Pokemon. Green then arrives on the scene, thanking Red for everything he did for her while she was unconscious. Red says sure he might have done all that, but in the end he still couldn't find her parents or stop the attacks on the island, getting up to leave. Green asks where he's going, with him replying he's leaving. After all, he can't help without his Pokedex. But Green tells him that he's wrong. The real reason why Oak wanted the Pokedexes is because he wanted to upgrade them into national dexes, featuring Pokemon from regions he's never been to. After Green's meeting with Professor Oak, he got captured by Orm, who forced Oak to leave Red and Blue a message to leave their Pokedexes and go to the Sevi Islands. But the message he recorded on Green's fame checker included the conversation he had with Orm. She tells Red that she doesn't know what fighting Deoxys was like, so she can't force him to go back with her. But she personally will continue fighting, revealing she stole Ultima's ring, who gets dragged over. Red says that even with the special move, she won't be able to win, but Green says she has to find a way. Over on Birth Island, Giovanni takes Deoxys' weakened state as a perfect opportunity to initiate a battle, smashing open the pyramid and catching the Pokemon in the special Pokeball. He thanks Red, as after all this was possible thanks to his battle against the Pokemon, making the evil leader an even bigger threat now. Red is lost in his thoughts, seeing everyone working hard to improve themselves or help out. With Oak being captured by Team Rocket and Green's parents also being captured, both Blue and Green have a true reason to fight. Red asks Pika what's his reason for fighting Deoxys, wondering if he ran because he doesn't have a true reason. Pikachu knows though that's not the case, and Red can tell, revealing he's been hiding his true feelings from the others, but with his Pokemon he can be honest. Before their battle, Red felt Deoxys was about to appear, but not just from the wind, but deep inside. He felt a feeling like his heart wanted to jump out of his mouth, knowing how strong his opponent was in a way he had never felt before. And this is coming from the guy who fought and caught Mewtwo. Not knowing, what he felt was fear. He theorizes maybe there's a connection between him and Deoxys, which allowed him to sense his presence. And with a nudge in the right direction from Pika, Red now knows his true reason for fighting Deoxys. He needs to protect the Sevi Islands, save his friends' families, but most importantly for himself, he needs to find out the connection between him and the Pokemon. Thanking Pikachu for the talk, deciding he'll find out what's happening inside of him. His first plan is to find Lorelei, but a voice in his head tells him that Lorelei has already been saved, as a spoon holding the lady appears before Red. The voice tells Red that he understands how it feels, as it too has been searching for the answer to what it truly is. This of course being Mewtwo, who's finally returned to the battlefield. Red is shocked that he can communicate with the Pokemon. Mewtwo however isn't too bothered about it, taking Red's Pokemon and commenting on their injured states, so he formally asks Red to team up with him. Over with Green, she's mastered the ultimate move Hydro Cannon, in record time by the way. Blue then arrives, telling them that they need to head over to the pier, as the bow is under the attack of Unknown. Taking this as a chance to practice, they unleash the ultimate attacks on the Pokemon, but there's no balance between the fire and water, and that's why Venusaur's Frenzy Plant comes in, stabilizing the attack and defeating the Unknown. Red appears in front of his friends, apologizing for his previous actions, but now he's ready to see things to the end. They all welcome him back, asking when he saved Lorelei, but Red reveals it was Mewtwo who saved her. And so the gang get ready to get their lick back in a rematch against Team Rocket. Blue and Green are confused as why Mewtwo is here, but Red explains that since his team's injured and they can't access the Pokemon Center, Mewtwo offered to join his squad. Blue asks Red how he knows what Mewtwo is thinking, and the Pokemon explains to Red that he's the only one it can communicate with telepathically. Well, him and two other trainers. Lane understandably, but also the trainer in the straw hat, otherwise known as Yellow. Seven Island then appears in their sight, and everyone's Versus Seeker activates, pointing to a building on the island. A bunch of Unknown appear, but Mewtwo doesn't want to waste any time, creating a force field and bringing Red, Blue and Green to the building. He then unleashes a powerful Psy Wave, defeating all the Unknown, with the Pokemon now no longer having to worry about a former time limit or endangering its trainer. The building they're on is called the Trainer Tower, and Red says they should get started, but Green and Blue spot their families captured. They rush to their rescue, but it's a trap and they get caught. Red also gets caught, so Mewtwo is forced to act once again, bringing everyone inside. It speeds up the process tenfold by using its power to locate the families, finding Professor Oak. The only problem being they can't free him, as a tower computer speaks to them, revealing itself as R. The The tower is immune to Pokemon moves, so Blue sends his Porygon 2 to attack from the inside, releasing Oak. They then locate Green's family, allowing her to finally reunite with them. But the battle has just begun, as a bunch of Deoxys appear. Red notes that they kind of look like Deoxys, but before he can finish, the Pokemon attack. The group hold them off, and the others try to reach them. Lorelei reveals that the three beasts, or at least Surd, isn't in the tower, and she's right, as Team Rocket are currently traveling the sky in their airship. However, the Versus Seeker is still activated, meaning a trainer must be in there, and that trainer is none other than Giovanni, who commanded Deoxys to use Double Team. Mewtwo immediately gets into battle, telepathically speaking to Giovanni out of pure hatred. It reveals it's here to stop Giovanni from using another Pokemon just like it was used in the past. Giovanni explains that Mewtwo and Deoxys are both genetic Pokemon, but they differ with Deoxys being mutated from a space virus. Mewtwo's raring to go, but before it can act, it gets restrained by a new device, appropriately titled the M2 Bind, and its design you might recognize from somewhere else. Taking a break from the main action, Celio's arrived to Bill on 5 Island. The two contact Lynette and Bridget, hoping they can get some help. As for the others, Mewtwo's binds are connected to Art, who's finally trapped Porygon 2. So now Giovanni's plan is nearly complete. He's captured Deoxys, stopped Mewtwo, now all he has to do is eliminate the Dex holders. And then, only then can he search for his son without any trouble, taking his leave. Blue tries to stop him, saying he respected him as his gym leader predecessor, but Giovanni has left that life behind. Ultima and the others arrive on the scene, offering to take Oak and Green's parents to safety. Green apologizes to her parents for having to split up with them again, but she promises they'll reunite once the villains are defeated. Ultima says that she'll stay behind to fight, giving Lorelei her Dragonite, and Green asks her former foe to protect her parents. Oak says he'll stay behind as well, taking Green as he has something they need to do, and that's retrieving the stolen Pokedexes. Back with Bill, Lynette and Bridget are informed of the situation, mentioning that Deoxys' form change is similar to Castform's weather forms, meaning they could be based on environment. After all, Deoxys' speed and normal form only appeared after it had the blue and red stone. Speed and normal are Hoenn exclusive, and attack and defense are Kanto exclusive, so chances are these stones from Hoenn brought Hoenn's environment to Kanto. Okay, all that Deoxys stuff is kind of confusing, so you know what, let's take a break and head over to our fan favorite girl, Yellow, who's at Viridian City Gym in order to meet Red and Blue. But of course, no one's there. A hologram of Blue then appears, saying he's not present at the gym, but if you want a gym badge, you can fight his personally trained Pokemon. Choo Choo wants to test her strength in a battle, which goes exactly how you'd imagine. Also still in the gym is the leftover statue of the previous gym leader. Yellow leaves the gym and spots a familiar face, being Silver. The two greet each other, and Silver explains that he's here looking for his roots. Yellow offers her assistance in reading Sneasel's mind, since he would have a better memory than Silver. But Silver says that Lance already tried once before. Yellow gives it a shot and manages to get a read on something, as being in Viridian City managed to bring back some of Sneasel's lost memories. Yellow draws what she sees from Sneasel, realizing the Pokemon is seeing the former gym leader. Back to the main battle, Green and Oak find the Pokedexes, and Oak revealed that Team Rocket made their own Dark Pokedexes from the original's data. So now what they have to do is transfer the data from the old ones into the new ones. But the Deoxys aren't going to make that an easy process. Green tries her best to fight back, but 2 of the original Pokedexes get destroyed. Luckily though, Oak managed to transfer all the data, and all he needs is some chips, which he put in Green's letter, fully upgrading the Pokedexes. Green asks why he gave something so important to her, and Oak reveals that if he gave them to the 2 hotheads, Red and Blue, they would definitely get stolen or destroyed. Over with Red and Blue, Blue tells Red that he should focus on taking down the real Deoxys, and Mewtwo agrees, telling Red to use his Pokemon to destroy the retainer. So Red agrees, sensing that Deoxys isn't here anymore. And that's true, as it's left with Giovanni onto Team Rocket's airship. Giovanni gives the Pokemon a handkerchief, asking to see if it can find his son, and it succeeds, so they head for Viridian City. Car asks Surd what the boss is trying to do, and Surd explains that they're trying to find the boss's son, which doesn't go along with Car's ideals, as he wanted to be the next leader of Team Rocket, rather than helping Giovanni find his heir. Deoxys immediately defeats him, and they throw him into the storage room. Back with the heroes, Blue asks Red if he can sense where Deoxys is, and Red confirms this. So Blue comes up with a plan, telling Mewtwo to please accept his orders, with the Pokemon agreeing. The first step is trading starters with Red, and if you're using the Japanese names, this truly is FireRed and LeafGreen. Blue explains that since Venusaur never got the chance to get healed, right now it's the weakest, and they'll have to attack Mewtwo at equal power, managing the power level to Venusaur. Just like fusing in DBZ. He then calls Green and tells her to shoot a Hydro Cannon from her location, and so they all attack. Green's attack is too weak though, since she's down below, but in order for Blasty to add more power, it would need to be balanced at an angle. So using her specialty, Green knows her Pokemon are ready to evolve, giving her Pokemon the necessary evolution stones, allowing them to have enough strength to support Blasty. With everything at equal level, Blue tells Mewtwo to jump into the colliding moves, destroying the M2 bind. Now with its freedom, Mewtwo cuts the tower in half. Using a spoon by the way. Green gives Red his new Pokedex and Mewtwo tells him that they should leave the rest to his friends, whilst they chase after Giovanni. Speaking of his friends, they've been separated from Deoxys' clones, and Green gives Blue his new Pokedex, with him barely having the strength to stay up, knowing now they have to just rely on Red to get the job done. Back in Viridian City, Yellow can't believe what's happening. Silver asks Yellow who the man is, so Yellow explains. Outside, the forest begins to get restless, and Yellow notices that something bad is about to happen, calling her Pokemon to give her gear. Yellow asks Silver what he'll do now, and Silver says he'll find Giovanni and learn his connection with him. But they don't have to find Giovanni as he's arrived to them. Although he'd rather personally go himself, Giovanni feels pain in his chest, so he tells his admins to go get Silver. Silver wastes no time attacking with his Gyarados, but he gets hit by Shadow Ball. Surd confirms Silver as Giovanni's son, and they go down to meet him. But Silver only wants to talk with Giovanni himself, so this confrontation can only end in a battle. Although this is a multi-battle, and Yellow is a useless teammate, especially with their Pokemon getting put to sleep. But she comes up with a plan, using her fishing rod to launch Omni's Pokeball in front of Team Rocket and taking them down with Blizzard. Orm uses the Black Pokedex like a Dragon Ball Scouter to see Omni's power level, which converts to 42, in other words level 42, whilst the rest of Yellow's team is also nothing impressive. However, that's only when she's holding back, but now that the forest is in danger, she unlocks her true power, just like what she did when she fought Lance, allowing her team's levels to jump all the way to the 80s. Aboard the ship, Giovanni spots that Red's headed their way, although he always knew that Red would never fall to cheap tricks, so there's only one way to deal with him. After his defeat 5 years ago in Viridian City, it's time for a rematch as the Team Rocket airship opens up, revealing a battlefield. As they get closer, Red feels a strange feeling, like his blood is flowing backwards and his heart skips a beat, confirming Deoxys is waiting for them. And sure enough, he's right. Giovanni looks up to Red, claiming that in this scenario, Red has the right to look down on him, as after all, he's the champion who defeated him. But now he's not a gym leader, nor the head of Team Rocket. Instead, he's a regular trainer who wants a challenge, asking Red to come and fight him, which is what our champion has wanted ever since he learned Giovanni was involved, meeting his opponent face to face. Giovanni proposes a 1v1, mythical Pokemon versus legendary Pokemon, and Red accepts. Mewtwo speaks with his opponent too, hoping for a good match, as the two Pokemon clash. Mewtwo tells Red he trusts him completely as his trainer for this battle, with the two powerful Pokemon clashing yet again. Deoxys then begins rapidly switching forms, knocking Mewtwo away. Mewtwo asks Red what's the plan for this battle, but Red doesn't have one. Instead, they're just going to be focusing on taking the Pokemon down with an incredibly strong attack aimed at his crystal. Down below, Yellow's Pokemon are being boosted by their trainer's anger, but Surd and Orm don't have time to fight, telling Silver Giovanni is his father, shocking the boy and putting him in a trance. They capture him and take him to the ship, but Yellow isn't going to lie down uselessly, chasing after them. Orm asks why not just fight her, but Surd explains that if they fight Yellow fair and square, they'll definitely lose. As for Red's battle, Mewtwo's attack is blocked. Giovanni is disappointed at Red's lack of plan, punishing him with a flurry of attacks. Giovanni confirms that the crystal is Deoxys' core, but because of this, the Pokemon isn't going to just let them attack it easily, grabbing Mewtwo. However, it made a fatal mistake as it didn't keep track of Mewtwo's spoon, which stabs the Pokemon. Over with Lorelei and the others, they meet up with Ultima, who nearly got caught in the tower's destruction. Lorelei asks Ultima if she completed her goal, which was to find the location of the faraway island. Back with Red, Deoxys has been hit by a fatal blow, shocking Giovanni, who thought they didn't have a plan. But Mewtwo explains they truly didn't have a plan. Red told him to aim for the crystal and it did just that. But how it reaches this result is up to Mewtwo, a fighting style based entirely on trust. But the battle isn't over. Last time they attacked Deoxys' core, it recovered and used Psycho Boost. So in order to stop it from recovering, Mewtwo spams a Pokemon with multiple Ki Blasts. Technically it's not Ki, but you get what I mean. Under the onslaught of the attack, the Pokemon can't change into its defense form, so victory is pretty much assured. But things can never be that simple, as Mewtwo gets caught by the Pokemon's attack tentacles, despite being in normal form. This is all thanks to Deoxys' Aurora, which successfully disguised its form, now allowing it the chance to attack with attack form Psycho Boost. Meanwhile, Yellow breaks her way into the ship in search for Silver, who's currently being fitted with a new Team Rocket suit. Heading back to the side characters, Ultima explains that a friend of hers was looking for a map to the faraway island, and that map just so happened to be in the trainer tower, calling her friend Mr. Briny, who's unfortunately already found the faraway island. If you're familiar with the games, you'll know that Mew lays here, and sure enough, Mr. Briny did find Mew, however it escaped towards Kanto. Speaking of Mew, the second one is down and out, and Psycho Boost is about to be fired. Despite their best efforts, Red and Mewtwo end up taking the attack at full force, unable to defend against it. Red wants to send out his team to help out, but they have to follow the rules of the battle, as Mewtwo gets up. The Pokemon gathers its strength, feebly throwing a punch at Deoxys, who really doesn't appreciate the gesture, attacking Mewtwo aggressively. Giovanni tells Red that he should just give up, but Red can't do that, not whilst Mewtwo is still holding on and Giovanni's plan is still active. So he lunges at Giovanni, but not to attack him, but to instead grab the airship's control, activating an energy shield Giovanni earlier used on them, telling Mewtwo to heal itself while Deoxys tries to stop him. You may think this is underhanded of Red or not noble. However, this style of battling of using everything at your disposal was specifically taught to him by Giovanni. With this chance, Mewtwo uses Recover and charges up an attack. Deoxys tries to fly around with Speed Form, but Red tells his partner to attack without worrying about hitting him. And so Mewtwo launches its final attack, which lands critical. Giovanni notices that Deoxys is struggling with its form changes, piecing together that someone's interfered with the Ruby and Sapphire stones, this someone being Bill, who along with Celio managed to locate the stones and stop their effects. On the ship, Yellow gets lost and finds herself on the battlefield, meeting up with Red, but suddenly she hears a voice coming from Deoxys. Yellow listens to the Pokemon, but what she hears are words she would never expect, as Deoxys claims to be Red himself. Serd and Orm then arrive on the scene in order to help out Giovanni, and Serd decides to give them some info explaining more about Deoxys. A while back, a rocket from Moss Deep Space Center was sent into space. Its purpose was to analyze a space virus, which had mutated into 2 new life forms. These 2 life forms then fell to the planet by holding onto a meteorite officially known as the Grand Meteorite. Professor Cosmo was the one who found this meteorite and brought it to the Space Center, where one of Team Rocket's scientists just so happened to be working. The scientists learned of these life forms and informed the others. But if you remember from the last part, Corny took over the Space Center, which gave Serd and her team the chance to break in and steal the life forms. Whilst they were being transported, the Pokemon began to change forms, and one of them broke out of its confinement, heading to Birth Island. Back to the present, the Deoxys that Red just defeated is known as Organism Number 2, and this is the Deoxys that had originally escaped. Team Rocket decided to let it roam freely as they would have trouble catching it. As for Organism Number 1, they let that one out into the wild to attack the Pokedex holders and their family. But that wasn't their only goal, but they also wanted to provoke Red specifically. Red cares deeply for his friends, so when he gets angry, it attracts Organism Number 2. Yellow asks about what happened to Organism Number 1, which Team Rocket reveal they disposed of, due to it not wanting to cooperate and its strength being weaker than Organism Number 2. But this still doesn't explain what Deoxys meant by being the same as Red. And we'll just have to wait to find out, since Silver has awoken on the ship, being in Giovanni's room. Silver sees his injured father, understanding why he was taken away as a child. Back in the past, the masked man told Green and Silver he specifically picks children with a 3-year age gap. Carl was oldest, being 17, followed by Sham being 14, Karen being 11, Will being 8, Green being 5, and lastly Silver only being 2. Price also picked on natural talent and birthplace. In other words, Price knew all about Silver's background and about his father being Giovanni. Silver laughs at the fact that he was dreaming of meeting his parents and having a house filled with warm, happy Pokemon, just like his rival. But all this time, he was chasing a pipe dream, and he's fated to live in the dark side of the world, knowing he can't accept Giovanni as a father. But before he can leave, his father wakes up, stopping his son from leaving. Back with Red and the gang, Serd tells Yellow to speak with Deoxys once more, and learn the truth from it itself. Suddenly though, the ship begins to shake aggressively, tilting to the side. Mewtwo uses its powers to save Red and Yellow, whilst Red saves Deoxys. Serd and Orm cling on for dear life, wondering who's taking control of the ship, and this person is Carr, who's completely driven to become the leader of Team Rocket, aiming to crash the ship down into Kanto. Because of the wind, Orm ends up slipping off the ship. And this is the last time we ever see him, so take of that as you will. Surge steals the ship's control back from Red in order to close the stadium. With everyone now safely inside, Red says they need to find a control room and stop Car, helping Deoxys up. Unfortunately though, Car has locked the door. Surge is one step ahead of him though, as she left her Starmie in the control room, who attacks Car. But he turns out to be one step ahead of her, as he has one of his fortress explode, sending her flying out of the ship. But that's not all, as inside the ship, Car has 10 other fortress who have all been ordered to explode, deciding he'll let the ship crash down whilst he takes his leave with Skarmory. Mewtwo busts open the door, saying they should leave the ship, but Red knows that if they do, it will crash down into Kanto and the damage would be insane. Not only that, they still have to save Silver and Giovanni. Red asks Yellow for some help, but she's begun dozing off, making Red realize her powers cause her to get sleepy. The airship is headed for where we started, Vermilion City, and the others arrive at the harbour, spotting the ship coming down. Green and Blue head for where it's going to land, in order to try stop it from crashing. Back inside, Red asks Deoxys to create a dark hole, just like the other Deoxys did, in order to free Silver and Giovanni. He then asks the Pokemon to do the same for Yellow and Mewtwo. Mewtwo asks Red if he really plans on dealing with everything alone, but Red promises he'll return. Yellow though has one more message to tell Red, attaching a Pokeball with Choo Choo onto him. She explains what she learned from Deoxys' mind, and that's a shocking reveal that Deoxys has Red's own blood flowing through its body. She continues to explain, saying that Giovanni collected blood cells and energy to reinforce his army. How exactly he planned to do this, I don't know. But either way, he took some of Red's blood from the battle 5 years ago. And just when Deoxys was escaping Team Rocket, some of Red's blood got absorbed into its incomplete body, forming a link with Red. So Deoxys began searching for the only thing it could biologically relate to, but it was only able to communicate by fighting. This explains the feeling Red would always have when he sensed Deoxys. Yellow then gets absorbed into the hole, and Red speaks with Deoxys, understanding the Pokemon's intentions now. Although they may have had a rough first impression, Red's happy to know the Pokemon. He tells it that although Giovanni caught him, now it's a free Pokemon, giving it the option to either return to the wild or if it even wants to, join his team, feeling a friendship with the Pokemon, and introducing it to his Pokemon, Blue's Charizard and Yellow's Choo Choo. Being brutally honest, Red reveals he only knows how to ride a bike, but now he'll try fly an airship. He tells his team to search for the fortress on the ship. Deoxys tells Red over computer that it can search the ship, and so it efficiently guides Red's team to where all the fortress lay. In the dark hole created by Deoxys, Giovanni reunites with his now fainted son. But once they leave the hole, they find themselves in the flame of the wreckage of some of the ship. Giovanni holds up his son, remembering the small amount of time he spent with him. A few years ago, Giovanni fell sick, which made him realize he only has a limit on how much time he has left, so he wanted to find Silver before he met his end. Blue and Green then arrive at the wreckage, and with his Rhydon, Blue saves the father and son duo. Giovanni then faints, and Silver wakes up, revealing to his friends that Giovanni is his father. But although this may be biologically the case, he still doesn't accept him as such. He appreciates Blue saving him, but he didn't have to do the same for Giovanni. Blue understands how Silver feels. People used to look at him as only Oak's grandson, and when he succeeded in something, they all assumed it was because of his relation to Oak. However, once he trained with Chuck, he learned to appreciate what he inherited from his father, and grew to wear his family ties with pride. The same should go for Silver. He saved the Johto and Kanto region despite being the son of Team Rocket's leader. Right now, Giovanni protected Silver from the fire, all at the cost of his own body, so he evidently cares about him. If Blue didn't arrive just then, they definitely would have died, but Blue only managed to save them with his Rhydon, which he strengthened after learning Giovanni's secrets. So what Blue's trying to say is that although Giovanni's a villain, he's not entirely bad, and there's some aspects that Silver can respect him for, allowing Silver to finally break down and cry over finally finding his family. Blue's been hot-headed this entire trip, when usually it's Red who is, and that's because of what happened with Oak, understanding that connections with family can cause to leading some rash decisions, which Green agrees with. Another dark hole opens with Mewtwo and Yellow appearing. Mewtwo explains that Red is still inside the ship, so they try to slow its fall with their Pokemon. In her sleep, Yellow tells the others that Red's a man of his word. He fulfilled their promise they made back when they first met, and he passed the gym leader exam, so now he'll definitely return. Mewtwo is tired after his bout, so it won't be able to stop the ship from crashing down. Silver has his Ursaring take his father to his hideout, whilst he tries to help stop the ship. He now accepts Giovanni as his father, so for that reason, he'll stop him from committing crimes, using the power that he has. As for Red, he sees his friends trying to stop the ship, but the controls won't raise the ship any higher. his Pokemon have found and defeated all the fortress apart from one. So Red takes off his shirt, tying it to the ship in order to keep it up. He tells Deoxys that the two of them will work together and find the last fortress. Meanwhile on 5 Island, Bill and Celio get informed of what's going on. The island's people know that even if Red succeeds, the people of the city probably won't appreciate him, realizing their previous actions were wrong, rooting hard for Red. Red and Deoxys find the last Pokemon. Red does his best to talk no jutsu the Pokemon into not blowing itself up, but the Pokemon decides to end it all anyway. Fortunately though, Deoxys stops the explosion thanks to using Skill Swap with Polly and gaining the damp ability. Deoxys is shocked by Red. He got hurt and was driven to the edge, but he never gave up and kept moving forward, asking Red just what is he, with Red replying he's a Pokedex holder from Kanto, known as the Fighter. But this fighter forgot his shirt was made out of fabric, as it snaps, forcing the airship out of control. It heads straight for a building, causing a tiny boink. The ship then gets slowly placed on the ground as Red escapes, thanking his friends for stopping the ship. But Blue wasn't the one who did it. Instead, the true hero of the day was Mew. Red then reunites with his friends, finally victorious, and Red and Deoxys dab each other up, like the blood brothers they are, and Mewtwo thanks its relative for coming to its aid. It then speaks with Deoxys, glad to have finally met someone similar to it, which the Pokemon agrees. Red appreciates his friends coming to the rescue, Silver included, and Blue actually has a mission for Silver, as according to his father's book, Rhydon has the potential to evolve even further, and the key to this evolution most likely lies in exchanging, which is Silver's specialty. Green then comes up with an idea, being to give Yellow the last Pokedex which wasn't destroyed. So Red gives Yellow the Pokedex, officially making her a Dex holder, and also causing a reunion of the Dex holders. Blue mentions that Oak said 2 Dex holders have been chosen in Hoenn, and a third is on its way. Green knows the two of them saved the Hoenn region, and it reminds them that they haven't met Golden Crystal in a while, so it would be great if the 9 of them could all meet up. Red then gets a message on his Pokedex from Deoxys, who wants to find organism number 1, mentioning another meteorite has fallen in a distant region, and it might be able to get it to change forms again, thanking Red and taking its leave. I'm really sad that it didn't join his team, but I guess I would make Red too OP. Another individual then approaches the group, but before we see who this is, let's look at the others, who have noticed that Surd is close by. Lorelei decides to bust out her signature technique, and we see that Surd isn't done for just yet. She's now witnessed the full power of the Dex holders when they work together, so letting them roam free would be a big mistake. Her leg then begins to freeze over thanks to Lorelei, so for now she'll just do a hit and run, aiming a Pokeball at Deoxys. The others try to stop it, but the effect of the clash begins to turn the group into stone. Surd laughs that although Deoxys escaped, at least she managed to stop the Dex holders, bidding them farewell and escaping herself. The others arrive and Oak tells them not to tell Green's parents, contacting Bill. Bill hears the good news and everyone celebrates, but for the bad news, all 5 Dex holders have been completely petrified, bringing the arc to an unsettling end. Will these guys ever get freed? And who was this 10th Dex holder that's rumored to exist? Find out next time in Pokemon Adventure. This cliffhanger is a pretty annoying one, but at least for now you're all gonna have to deal with it. Well, until we visit Hoenn once more for part 6, the Emerald Arc, in what I would call the end of the original Pokemon Adventure saga. Now let's go into the questions. What do you think of this arc? Personally, I really enjoyed it. Seeing Red and the others appear again as a main character was honestly all I could ask for. But too bad this is the last time it's gonna happen. Let me know your own thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.